Welcome to History AI, where we bring history to life through the power of AI. Today we are taking a look at the life of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So we will be exploring his background, the assassination plot, how the world reacted to this event, and also the wider implications this one act had. For many, it is seen as a pivotal moment in history, and hopefully after watching this video, you will understand why. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, held a prominent position in a complicated and tumultuous empire encompassing various nationalities and languages. His wife, Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, was from an obscure Czech noble family, which subjected her to numerous slights at court due to the mismatch in their lineage. Franz Ferdinand's life offers insight into the political intricacies of the empire, marked by declining power and rising nationalist movements. Despite his significant status, he chose to marry Sophie out of deep affection, a choice that brought contempt from his uncle, Emperor Franz Joseph, who didn't attend their wedding. Their children were deemed ineligible for the throne, further illustrating the rigid hierarchies and conservative nature of the Austro-Hungarian aristocracy. In June 1914, Franz Ferdinand attended military exercises in Bosnia-Herzegovina, a region annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908, and a hotbed of tension due to Serbia's expansionist aspirations and discontent among its ethnic Serb population. The Archduke, despite harbouring derogatory views towards Serbs, opposed the annexation, anticipating its potential to destabilise the already fragile empire. The assassination plot against Franz Ferdinand was orchestrated by the Black Hand organization, a group with deep ties to the Serbian military. Gavrilo Princip, Trifko Grabes, and Nedeljko Kabrinović, the conspirators, were armed with bombs, pistols, cyanide capsules. This signaled their deadly intent during the Archduke's official visit. On the fateful day, the assassination began with Kabrinović's failed bomb attack, which left Franz Ferdinand and Sophie unscathed. However, as the motorcade mistakenly took a side street, Princip seized the opportunity and mortally wounded both the Archduke and his wife. The subsequent reactions by Austria-Hungary, supported by Germany against Serbia, triggered a cascade of military mobilizations, drawing in Russia, France, and eventually Britain, setting the stage for World War I. The assassination didn't merely end the lives of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie, but ignited a conflict that would reshape the global order, leading to unprecedented warfare and the reconfiguration of national borders. The assassination plot was carefully crafted and executed by the Young Bosnians, a group of Serbian nationalists with support from the Black Hand, a covert Serbian organization closely tied to the military. Their goal was to destabilize Austro-Hungarian rule in the Balkans and promote Serbian interests through acts of sabotage and political violence. Upon learning of Franz Ferdinand's planned visit to Sarajevo, the young Bosnians began preparing. Gavrilo Princip, Trifko Grabes, and Nedeljko Kabrinović travelled to Belgrade in May 1914 to secure their arsenal, including handheld bombs, semi-automatic pistols, and cyanide capsules provided by the Black Hand. Each conspirator received a suicide capsule to avoid capture, underscoring their commitment to their nationalist cause. The conspirators smuggled their weapons across the border into Bosnia with assistance from a clandestine network. On June 28, 1914, as Franz Ferdinand and Sophie arrived in Sarajevo in an open-topped car, the assassins positioned themselves strategically along the publicly disclosed route. The first attempt on the Archduke's life came when Kabrinović hurled a bomb at the motorcade, which detonated under a different vehicle, causing injuries but sparing the couple. Undeterred, the conspirators continued their mission. Following a reception at City Hall, the motorcade mistakenly veered onto a side street where Princip, standing near Schiller's Delicatessen, seized his chance. He stepped forward and fired 2 shots, striking Franz Ferdinand in the neck and Sophie in the abdomen. Despite the Archduke's plea for Sophie to stay alive for their children, both succumbed to their wounds shortly after the attack. Princip's actions, carried out with patriotic fervour and youthful defiance, had devastating repercussions. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, declared war on Serbia, setting off a catastrophic chain reaction among Europe's entangled alliances, propelling the continent into the maelstrom of World War I. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and Sophie sparked a whirlwind of diplomatic actions and public outrage. Austro-Hungary, already grappling with internal strife and nationalist movements, viewed the assassination as an affront to its authority and a threat to its stability. Austrian officials accused the Serbian government of complicity in the plot. With Germany's backing, Austro-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia on July 23, 1914, presenting a series of stringent demands. Despite Serbia's willingness to agree to most terms, they rejected clauses involving Austro-Hungarian oversight within their borders, which threatened their sovereignty. Vienna deemed this partial compliance insufficient and declared war on Serbia on July 28. Serbia, while denying direct involvement in the assassination, had covertly supported nationalist movements like the Black Hand. As Austria-Hungary mobilized, Serbia sought support from its powerful ally Russia, which swiftly mobilized its forces to protect its smaller ally. The tension spread across Europe. Germany, committed to Austria-Hungary, supported punitive actions against Serbia, triggering a series of mobilizations and alliances. Following Austria-Hungary's declaration of war on Serbia, Germany declared war on Russia on August 1st, seeing Russian mobilization as a direct threat. Germany's strategic plan required a quick victory in the West before confronting the slower mobilizing Russian forces, leading to their declaration of war on France and the invasion of Belgium on August 3rd. Belgium's invasion drew Britain into the conflict due to its treaty obligations. On August 4th, Britain declared war on Germany, completing the early alignments of what would become a global conflict. Public and media reactions varied across the continent. In Austria-Hungary, the assassination sparked nationalistic fervour, with the media portraying Franz Ferdinand and Sophie as martyrs and justifying the call for war. Serbian media and public, while not openly celebrating the assassination, viewed it within the context of their struggle for national self-determination, seeing Austria-Hungary's actions as unjust and imperialistic. Elsewhere in Europe, reactions were mixed, but marked by a sense of foreboding. In France and Russia, alliances called for mobilizations that few truly desired. In Britain, the declaration of war on Germany was met with anxiety and stoicism, but patriotic fervour soon swelled. The immediate aftermath of the assassination underscored the fragility of European peace at the time. The rapid succession of declarations and mobilizations revealed the interconnectedness and militarization of the great powers. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie, prominent figures from an ancient empire struggling with modern nationalist movements, signaled the dawn of one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. The July crisis marked a critical juncture on the path to the outbreak of World War I. This period, spanning the weeks following the assassination, was characterized by a series of intense diplomatic and military maneuvers among European powers that ultimately led to full-scale war. Austria-Hungary's reaction to the assassination was swift and resolute. With Germany's backing, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia on July 23, 1914. This document contained a list of severe demands aimed at quelling Serbian nationalist activities and effectively giving Austro-Hungarian officials direct oversight within Serbia. While Serbia accepted most of these conditions, they only partially acquiesced to the more intrusive demands, particularly those that compromised their sovereignty. Germany's support, often referred to as the blank check, was pivotal. It signalled to Austria-Hungary that they could count on German military and moral support, emboldening their aggressive stance towards Serbia. When Serbia's response was deemed inadequate, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28th. As Austria-Hungary and Serbia inched closer to war, the intricate web of alliances that defined pre-war Europe began to unfurl. Russia, committed to protecting Serbia, began to mobilize its forces on July 30th in response to Austria-Hungary's aggression. This mobilization alarmed Germany, who viewed a two-front war against both France and Russia as a real possibility. To preemptively safeguard its position, Germany declared war on Russia on August 1, 1914. The German strategy, often encapsulated by the Schlieffen Plan, hinged on rapidly defeating France before turning to face the slower mobilizing Russian forces. This plan required a swift invasion of Belgium, a neutral country, to outflank French defences. When German troops crossed into Belgium on August 3rd, they violated Belgian neutrality, which precipitated Britain's entry into the conflict, due to its treaty obligations to defend Belgium. By August 4th, the great powers of Europe were at war. Germany faced off against Russia and France, while Britain's involvement soon brought the Dominion nations and colonies of its global empire into the conflict. The web of alliances ensured that the conflict could not remain localized to the Balkans. What began as an Austro-Serbian dispute rapidly evolved into the global conflict now known as World War I. As the conflict unfolded, it revealed the extent to which nations were prepared to leverage their alliances in pursuit of their geopolitical interests. Historians have scrutinized the July crisis to understand the specifics of diplomatic decisions and the cultural and political underpinnings that made war seem not only possible, but inevitable to the leaders of the time. Then, these weeks of crisis were a crucible from which the fires of World War I emerged, fundamentally altering the course of 20th century history. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and Sophie catalyzed a seismic shift in global history, fundamentally altering the trajectory of the 20th century. The immediate spark that ignited World War I, the assassination, instigated a chain reaction of military mobilizations and alliance activations that enveloped Europe in conflict. World War I wrought unprecedented destruction and loss of life. Over 16 million soldiers and civilians perished, and the war's extensive use of trench warfare, chemical weapons, and modern military technology left a landscape of devastation. The intense and prolonged nature of the conflict reshaped national boundaries, economies, and societies. One of the immediate after-effects of the war was the collapse of long-standing empires. The Austro-Hungarian, Russian, Ottoman, and German empires disintegrated, replaced by a patchwork of fledgling states and mandates. National borders were redrawn, often arbitrarily, by the victors of the war, leading to a host of new geopolitical tensions. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, aimed to secure a lasting peace but largely sowed the seeds for future discord. The punitive measures imposed on Germany engendered deep resentment and economic hardship, facilitating the rise of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party, which would eventually plunge the world into a second and even more devastating war. The war's impact also spurred significant social and political changes across the globe. In Europe and beyond, the war catalyzed movements for self-determination and decolonization. In Russia, the war exacerbated existing social and political tensions, culminating in the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 and the establishment of the Soviet Union. This emergence of a communist state laid the groundwork for the ideological struggles that would define much of the 20th century, including the Cold War. The United States' involvement in World War I marked its arrival as a global power. Initially pursuing a policy of isolationism, the US entered the conflict in 1917, providing crucial support to the Allies and tipping the balance against the Central Powers. The war's end saw the US take on a more assertive role in international affairs, although it would oscillate between isolationism and interventionism in the ensuing decades. The League of Nations, created as part of the Versailles Treaty, represented an early attempt at achieving global governance and preventing future conflicts. Despite its noble intentions, the League was plagued by weaknesses, most notably the absence of the United States and its inability to enforce its resolutions. The League laid the philosophical and structural foundations for the establishment of the United Nations after World War II. The interwar period was marked by economic instability, culminating in the Great Depression of the 1930s. The economic fallout from the war, compounded by the failure of the Versailles Treaty to create a stable post-war order, set the stage for the rise of totalitarian regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan. These regimes, driven by expansionist ideologies, would ignite World War II, a conflict that would engulf the globe once more and reshape the international order. The technological and military advancements made during World War I set a precedent for the increasingly mechanized warfare of subsequent conflicts. The war fostered innovations in weaponry, tactics, and medical care, some of which would have lasting peacetime applications. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was a catalyst for a century of profound change. It set in motion events that led to the downfall of empires, the redrawing of national boundaries, the rise of the United States as a global power, and the ideological battles that defined the 20th century. Understanding this moment and its far-reaching consequences is crucial to comprehending the complex landscape of modern history.